everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tech Talk. I am Jennifer Cooper, I'm the fractional CMO at fOCUS360, and today we have a wonderful guest, Miss Jennifer Johnson. She is the founder and CEO of Olivia Clarke Homes. Hello, Jennifer. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Glad to be here.
I'm so glad you're able to make time. I know you have a very busy schedule, and it's always challenging to take time away from your business. So thank you so much. So today we're going to be talking about a little bit about your home building company and how you guys use technology at Olivia Clarke Homes. And for anybody who hasn't listened to Tech Talk before, these are small little bite-sized segments where we're just talking about industry trends, technology, and how some of our clients are using fOCUS360 technology specifically in their marketing channel. And that's why Jennifer is no stranger to us. She is a client and industry partner in the home building industry. And we know you've had some great successes. And I love that you are a female owner and CEO in an industry that is male dominated. We know. And I just, definitely respect what you're doing for our industry as a female. So first of all, I'll also start out with thank you for that. So for anybody who's not familiar yet with Olivia Clarke Homes, tell us about your home building company, where you're located, a little bit about your product mix, like kind of your elevator pitch. What's your company, which is always a fun question.
Yeah, it's fun for me too. So the company was founded in 2020, which, was an interesting time to decide to start a company, but sometimes you don't have choices in the timing. You just need to take advantage of opportunities when they come your way. So we are about 4+ years old, and this year we'll build about 80 homes. We're in the Dallas market, Metroplex, focusing primarily on the northern suburbs in Collin and Denton counties. So places like Frisco, McKinney, Salina. We're headed out to Aubrey, Denton, parts beyond as the company continues to grow. We build a mix of products, currently everything from what I call paired homes, or a 2-pack townhome duplex to acre lots. So, and not everything in between, but some things in between. We have 35-foot rear entry product, 50-foot product, 40s. So our product library is growing as the company is growing. But that's kind of that's where we're at right now with our product mix. The company is named after my kids, so clearly I'm not Olivia. But I have 2 college-age children, I still call them young adults, and Clarke is my son's middle name. It's also my maiden name. Olivia is my daughter's middle name. So we're able to put that together, and we thought it was neat too and fun that it turned out to have a feminine name. Did not set out to do that, but happy that that's where it ended.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and I love the familial tie. And you never know where a name originates, and I love that you have like a homegrown, very personal story. What about your product sets you apart in the mix? Is it anything about your process, your finishes? I always love to ask that question of builders. I think it's so important to know. It's part of your story.
It is. I mean, I believe that our product is not just about room count and square footage. It's really, we focus on how you would live your life in that home. And, our homes, there's a home that's maybe 3,000 square feet, but it probably lives like it's 3,800 because the square footage is all in the right place for today's families. And I think, honestly, it takes a woman's eye to recognize that. Primarily, I'm not going to say there's some men who don't do a great job, but I think it's a unique perspective in our industry that a lot of home builders don't bring in the female voice as to represent how you would live in that home, how you would entertain, where do you want your storage. The fact that we have abundance of storage in our homes is unique to begin with, but but really thinking about, how you would live every single day. Where are you going to put your kids' games at? Your extra sheets and blankets and towels, all of those things. Where do you store all your stuff from Costco? We think about all of that.
Yes.
Depending upon the home size and the product type, the smaller it is, the more limitations you have on what you can do with that storage. But we try to think creatively. And I've lived in a narrow home. I've lived in a 20-foot wide 3-story home. And so I know what that feels like. And so just taking the time to envision yourself living there, how that kitchen's going to function, I think really sets us apart. People walk into our homes and we'll go, and people, my sales team will tell us, what's different? Like, this home is very functional. This is exactly where I would want everything to be. And that's one of the highest compliments we could receive. So
Yeah, I was going to say, I would wonder if when something's being designed from a product and a flow standpoint, if you're hearing that being understood and absorbed by the clients and by the prospects coming through the doors.
yeah, we have heard those stories, and it gives me a big sense of accomplishment that what we're doing is being translated to the consumer, and they're finding value in that as they compare our product, to some really great home builders that we compete with every day. So that's a compliment that's coming through.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So it's great to know your value proposition, which that helps, especially and it's been an interesting market the last year. A lot of challenges with rates and softer market. How is your sales team keeping people, folks engaged in the process, or following up and giving them the right marketing materials to keep people engaged in this kind of interesting year, if you will?
Yeah, it has been an interesting year with interest rates, and I think now we're finally have seen the worst of that. But it does come back to ultimately the basics of how you treat people, and treating others the way you would want to be treated, and the level of service that's personalized and individual and not just a number. And our company is smaller. We're going to do 80 homes, and so each individual customer we probably know by name, and we know their story, and it matters to us. So even with the people coming in the door, I think they can feel that they're not just a number. Now, we use a great CRM. We have obviously the great tools from fOCUS360 to provide information in a very timely manner, if not immediately. Like, we take advantage of the chat GPT bots on our website. We've implemented that this year. I just think having those tools to deliver that information in a very timely manner is vital, but following up with that personalized service will set you apart from your competitors most of the time if they're not doing that.
Yeah. How much, going back to products, how much of your product you can add either customized or personalized, or are you designing for collections?
I'm designing the collections. We have on our larger lot communities, we do have 2 communities where you can make some changes to the floor plans. We're not a custom builder where we'll just design a custom home, and it depends upon the product type and the price point on when we can allow those changes. And honestly, when the consumer can afford them, because prices are so ridiculously high that, there's only a few places that we're doing that in right now. And honestly, half of those buyers aren't making any changes to our floor plan designs because what we're doing is resonating and working. And we try to build in flexibility to the floor plan as well, because we know every family, every buyer has individualized needs and different ways they may use the space. So we're very thoughtful on variations and options within the home, and how we can pre-plan for those and pre-solve that and offer that to them on a production basis, we would call it, but not on it. They don't have to pay the custom fees to personalize that home to fit their needs. We about even kitchen design. We have 3 or 4 different kitchen layouts where they could pick between that as well. So Try to think some of those things through ahead of time.
Yeah, that keeps it streamlined for the customer, and then also knowing that they can rely on someone who, again, you're thoughtful in the plans, you're thoughtful in the finishes. That absolutely helps streamline the buying conversation. So to pivot to talk a little bit more about the products, for example, that you've used with fOCUS360. I don't know if you can, if you're comfortable talking about some of the products that you've used. You know, we were talking about interactive floor plans, site plans, things of that nature. How is your team? How have you, I guess, as a company, as an owner, when you step back, feel that those technology experiences are driving your business and how they're helping your team sell? Any commentary on that?
Yeah, well, to go back to the inception of the company, we went to market in 2021 at the beginning, building our first home. And honestly, we did not move into a model home until April of 2023. That was not by design, but the market was moving so quickly that we were selling out of our communities. You know, we couldn't even get a model built before we were sold out and going to the next. So we definitely had a lot of wind beneath our sails from a demand standpoint. But how that relates to fOCUS360 is, so we went, 2.5 years without a model home. We went a solid year without, and a lot of times we wouldn't even have an inventory home to show somebody because they were sold so quickly. So we sold the first year alone, we sold $30 million of real estate solely off of the virtual floor plans. I hope I'm saying that right, the walkthrough tours. And please correct me on the correct term, but
virtual model homes, but everybody knows virtual tours.
Thank you for that, the virtual model homes. So, and people thought they would call us like, well, where can I go? Where's the address of this home? I'd like to walk through it. And our team was like, I'm sorry, it's actually, we can't show it to you. They're like, well, what do I see online? They thought it was the real thing. So, but the tools were so effective, and that we were able to put those in the hands of our sales professionals and let them go do what they do best. And it's hard to sell off of paper, and just a blueprint. That's not the easiest thing to do. But the tools that fOCUS360 provided made that possible. So without that, with starting this company, I know we would not be as successful as we are today, but we couldn't have done it without those tools, having that in our arsenal. That was the biggest expense I probably spent that year, was doing that, but it was well worth it.
Yeah. And honestly, I think you're a great case study. Just hearing that shows that today's buyer is more and more comfortable, because honestly, if you look at it, you didn't really have yet even set a brand reputation. You were a brand new company.
Exactly. They did not know who we were from Adam or from Eve, so we had a lot of hurdles to overcome, just besides the fact of not having product to show. That it was vital that we had this technology. It legitimized who we were as a brand. The fact that we were able to invest in the technology and provide the same, if not better, digital assets, online tools as our competitors. We, from the beginning, whether it's a consumer looking at our website or a trade who's working for us, we never wanted either of those folks to think that they were getting less than the best from us than from our competitors. Excuse me.
Yeah. Really, to think if you hadn't implemented those technologies and you didn't have a model, you would have really been selling from paper, and maybe those revenues would have been, much less. So it's really, kudos to you for thinking, again, what is the competition doing? Perfect case study. You're 80 homes or 800 homes. You're still thinking about what, your neighbors are doing, because the buyers has all this choice to look and say, how am I understanding what I'm going to get,
Absolutely. It was,
sorry.
We wouldn't be here today without it. That's for sure.
That's fantastic. No, it's a great success story. And like I said, I want to hear other builders to hear how thinking through the innovation and the technology and the virtualization, that today's customers just wants to see something. And then the more photorealistic it is, knowing that you have such a, I guess to me, your product feels custom because it's, higher end finishes and thinking through all of the trends and the ideas of how the house flows, that feels more custom because it's not just like they're buying another box from, potentially another builder. And those virtual model tours really help shape that. So I am curious. So that's one way that you're measuring your ROI, obviously off of your tools, was what was your revenue? I think you have the cleanest measurable right there. So I'm just curious, are there any other ways that your company right now is, I know you've mentioned a few times you're small. There's a lot of small builders out there that are either afraid to dabble in certain technologies. And I'm hoping your story is, inspirational, but how are you planning or are you planning for other R&D and other technology for 25 or 26? Like, how are those conversations brought into your, smaller boardroom discussions?
Yeah, well, even to just look back, we've implemented a lot of new things this past year and a half, I would say, from the chatbot. I mentioned that earlier. We didn't have that the first several years. Now we have that. Not only does that, the company we use is excellent. Not only does it have very intuitive conversations with the buyers online, it gets them directly to our team very, very quickly via an app. And I think, if you think about the access to information and technology that consumers have in other industries, like buying a car, they can build the whole thing online. They know what their price is, all of that. It's not as easy for home builders to do that, but the fact still remains that the consumer demands pretty much immediate information. Everything is at our fingertips. So we've tried to, in the past few years, really bring on assets that are answering that call in a great way. So we brought on we're doing it with a CRM now, which also helps. We integrate our social media through that so we can track which posts are working or not, what time of day, where are leads coming from, all the things that every company needs to know, every executive needs to know to make an intelligent decision about where to spend your money. So I would say we've done a lot of that the past year and a half. I don't know that we're necessarily going to bring on a new tool in the next year. We're really trying to flesh everything out, get those programs robust as they can be, and make sure we're using every inch of those resources that we have and implementing those probably before we go on to another, because we've bitten off a couple of big bites in the past year and a half in that regard. But everything has been, well worth it.
Awesome. That's exciting. And my last question is, we've been talking a lot about budget season and planning. Are there any percentages or any percentages that you plan to allocate towards technology and towards marketing, specifically, that you're willing to share? I think it's interesting. I think always builders are kind of talking and comparing and contrasting. Where are you spending your money and to get your message out about your growing firm across Texas?
Yeah, as a rule, we really want to be at the 2% of revenue for our marketing budget. So inside of that, we have all the technologies from fOCUS and the chatbots and things like that. We are more digitally focused than we are, obviously, paper. Nobody's doing direct mailers. That hasn't worked, in my experience, for years. Personally, I check my mail like maybe once a month. So, so it really is technology based. We do have, a very small percentage set aside for a couple of strategic billboards. And then directional signage as you're getting, navigating through town to find the community. But with those few exceptions, we spend everything on technology and digital assets. That is where people go for their information. I didn't make this up, but they say your first showing is online, and it's true. If the consumer doesn't like what they see, if I don't like what I see online, I'm not going to go inside of a store. It's hard enough for me to go inside of a store to go shopping as it is.
Yes.
So I think the more we realize, especially our age, like we're probably around the same age, we're the consumer. If our behaviors are pretty indicative of what our buyers are doing. So if you're a CEO and you're not actually the same life cycle or age or whatever as our consumer today, have somebody on your team who is, and listen to them, because the way that they shop and, get information is just how your consumer does it as well. So I think that's really vital, to be as close to the consumer as you can be when you're making these decisions on where to spend your money.
Yeah, no, those are all great tips. And I always say, how are you bringing in a focus group to your decisions, whether it's you've got the right people on the team, bringing in the consumer, and bringing them different demographics. So I love everything that you said, including that percentage of revenue and how much you spend on marketing. I'm going to be sharing that with other people.
Okay.
That's a great rule. So thank you so much. Like I said, we do keep Tech Talks relatively short. So thank you so much for the time, and those brief insights are always great. And again, thank you for being our guest, and thanks to our viewers today. And until next time, make sure to watch us on Spotify, or listen to us now on Spotify. We have a Spotify channel, and also we stream these to YouTube and Vimeo. So thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.